I say? You know, it's just the way the mix comes through. I don't know, man. Like, take it up with Josh. But hey, guys, it's
I
Nate,
will.
and it's good, good. Take it up with tech support. Hey, guys, it's Nate, and it's time for another bite sized. But as I am so often inclined to do, and because this is my podcast, and I kind of get to do what I want here, or it's most kind of mine, partially mine. Like it's mine and Josh's, and we make the rules. But I have a guest, and we're going to be talking about the League of Mediocre Brotato Chaps Quarter 1. But he's been on the show before. He's one of our friends and one of our patrons. It is the one, the only, the inimitable Arkone Lightwave.
Hello.
Tis you. So now, what's kind of interesting here is, like I said, we're going to be talking about our fantasy critic league. This is your first year playing. Now, is this your first year doing any sort of fantasy critic stuff? First
It is.
time? Okay.
Yep.
So this is your rookie year, and you so far have had a really pretty dominant year. Now it is only Quarter 1, but
Mm-hmm.
you've had a really good year so far. And you've kind of, like, as far as like um, the projected positions go, you've been pretty consistently up there in one or two. It's kind of funny that right before we started recording here, we were actually going to be joined by Mark Erickson, who's also in the league, or our league, for the first time this year. And he just snuck into first. Now, and again, this is all projected rankings, not actual, because there's a lot of year left. So but I thought it would be interesting. So this is your first year doing this, and this is kind of like this is kind of like fantasy football for uber nerds. And what do
Mm-hmm.
you think of it? What are your thoughts of your first quarter and your first year of fantasy critics so far?
I'm enjoying it to the point that I'm checking the updates to the points projections far too often than should be considered healthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
um yeah. And I think what really, when Josh and when I started doing this like 3 or 4 years ago in the Dear Critics League, and then when we brought it a couple years ago into the the breakdown community, it was like one of those things. What's really kind of interesting is the way that there's sort of this cross section. Like there's a lot of stuff that like everybody knows about, but then you do have, like, you kind of get to see all the weird little paths and areas that different people will pay attention to, that none of this stuff was on your radar whatsoever. um and
Mm-hmm.
it was one of those things. It was just an interesting way to look at the industry, and sort of, I like video games. I've been, a fan of the medium for years. I've been a fan of the industry for years, but I didn't keep up with releases or publishing or developing nearly to the extent that I do now because of this metagame. So, and I'll tell you what, for only being 4 months into the year, we're really kind of like, there's been a fair amount of activity. Like the first 3 months of this year have been pretty stacked. Now there's still a lot of empty spaces, as I'm sort of scrolling down through the different rosters here. There's still a lot of open spaces, or not released games in a lot of these rosters so far. But um, let's just take a second here, and we'll just we'll talk through. It's like we'll go through the different drafting modes here, but we'll talk about some of the different rosters real quick, and then we'll kind of we'll maybe dig into yours a little bit, and see how you're feeling, what you might be sort of looking forward to or a little worried about, etc. So But first up on sort of like the Fantasy Critic website here is it's Nick Porch's developer, La Li Lu Lay Lo Shenanigans. And Porcho always has like a gimmick. So like last year,
Hmm.
his thing was he only drafted games that released in February. Um, and the gimmick does not always work out well for him. Um, but and it doesn't look like he's going to have like a sort of like a top seed year, but like so far he's done all right. Um,
Yeah, he's not.
he
I
dropped.
mean, his scores aren't that bad, honestly.
No, I mean he's got some like Adam Fall and Everhood both kind of left him like they're fine, but like that single
Mm.
digit scores, leave a little to be desired. But like his whole thing was like he only drafted and only picked up games that started with um a vowel. So he's got
Which
Elden Ring
might
Night.
which Yeah, that might be why he's got Lolly Lule Low in the name of his publisher. That
Well,
might be a reference. That might be a reference to his gimmick, or it could just be that he's a Metal Gear Solid fan, or both. Who knows?
it could. I think it's probably a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, maybe. But so he drafted Elden Ring Night Ring, Rain. Oh, and they talk pretty. Not tonight. Avowed, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Adamfall, Everhood. Um, I think we only drafted five. Well, but then he
Yep.
also picked up Atelier Yumia, The Alchemist of Memories in the Envision Lands, and the unannounced Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake. Um, for his flex pick, he picked up Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, The Order of Giants, because that's going to be re-releasing. Or no, that's the DLC that's
DLC.
supposed to come out.
Yeah.
And he counterpicked The Killing Floor. So he's got 5 games here that have scored. Avowed got him a 10 or got an 80. So that netted him 10 points. Assassin's Creed Shadows, 81, 11 points. Adamfall got him 5 points with a 75. Everhood 2 got him 8 with a 78. And Atelier Yumia got him 10 points. So he's okay. I mean, the 10s and the 11, those are solid scores. Those are going to do pretty well. But like the 5 and the 8, those aren't going to really do him any favors, especially like in comparison to just where things where things are probably going to stand at the end of the year. But like again, Nick sort of has a gimmick, and it hasn't blown up in his face, but
Hmm.
you know, but and he still has so he has 2 empty slots that he hasn't drafted or he hasn't picked up anything for, and he's got Elden Ring, Night Rain, and the Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake aren't scored yet because they're not out, and one of them isn't even confirmed. Um, so yeah, moving on here, it is your roster here, and
Yeah.
to
Just a quick note on Porchos. That was actually a really good move picking up Atelier Yumia after the fact, because that's kind of a sleeper hit series. It's one of those that
mhm,
it's actually got a really solid following. It's kind of a JRPG that focuses more on crafting than combat.
yeah,
Like there is
yeah,
combat, but the combat is entirely in service of the crafting, and they really go
yeah.
deep dive on the crafting side of things. And the
It's also a
previous,
game that tends to be a little kind of like the kids would say gooner adjacent. The
I mean, you're only saying that because of Atelier Ryza, which was the previous trilogy. That
well, and
character design
Yumiya,
was a little. I haven't seen much of Yumiya yet, but
from what I have heard a conversation on a different podcast that I listen to where they're basically like she's kind of got the kids might use the term, I don't know if they're using this one still, but she's a little dummy thick. Um like she's
yeah, sure. I mean, honestly, I think the protagonist of Ryza was a little,
little more
little,
salacious.
Not, I wouldn't say that necessarily, like, but just appealing to the same demographic in the same way, possibly more so. But again, I haven't seen much of Yumiya, so I can't really say for sure.
Okay, well,
But
I'm gonna pull up a picture of Ryza, um, and then I'm gonna look at Yumiya, and I'll just like, they're not okay, so they're not terrible. Um,
yeah, I mean, they're
Ryza's,
not overt. They're not trying to overtly appeal to the male gaze, as it's called. But you know, the Japanese art designers know what they like, and they like attractive female
yeah,
characters, which I
okay, so there's
appreciate. Sometimes they take it too far, I will freely admit, but
what I will say with like Yumiya, she's got like the weird like kind of like bent in half pose on the one picture where it's like her body is twisting in a way so that her butt kind of
oh
like
yeah,
sticks out.
the
The like,
the
but
the, the
it's like,
button boobs pose.
but yeah, and it's like no no actual human female move like stands that way on purpose. So but yeah,
Unless they are
they
posing for such a piece of art.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that was probably a really solid pickup. I mean, like Elden Ring Night Rain, you have to imagine is going to do pretty well for him.
Oh,
If
absolutely.
the Oblivion remake actually does hit, that's probably going to do pretty well for him. And
That's
yeah,
going to explode. I mean,
Avowed.
I will say, Avowed and Assassin's Creed Shadows, I probably shouldn't be surprised that they scored as high as they did. Although, you know, the things that I have, follow on terms of
Mhm.
like social media, I don't personally believe either of those games deserve the scores that they got. But
I've heard like I mean the thing that what I've heard about Avowed is that like it's good, not great. 80 is
mhm,
like very good. So it's like to me based on what and I haven't played it but based on what I've heard, it's probably sort of in that high 7s range, but 80 is not too far outside that window. Assassin's Creed
mhm,
Shadows, it's like from what I've been hearing, it depends on what you like out of your Assassin's Creed. Um
yeah.
I I stopped playing those after the Ezio trilogy. Um,
Oh yes, that was a
just
while back.
yeah, and they went into this sort of like RPG thing. And what I have heard is if you like the
That's
RPG
actually
stuff,
Yeah, that's actually way more recent than even the Ezio trilogy. There was like at least three or no,
well, it
okay,
was
three.
Odyssey
There's three
and Valhalla,
starting with Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, and now Shadows. There's only been four games with the RPG style.
but
Uh,
this is what I've heard is that Shadow like Assassin's Creed Shadows, like the stuff with Yasuke is a more interesting story arc than the sort of the assassin type character, but she has the better gameplay and her gameplay is like that gameplay loop. It's the best out of the RPG stuff. It's just she's the least interesting character. Um, so
yeah,
and
and then there was a whole bunch of. I mean, that game has had so much controversy during its development
yeah,
and most of that honestly is from the marketing side of things. You can't even blame the developers. I will say that
yeah.
I've seen video proof that the credit roll for Shadows is 2 hours long if you don't
Oh,
fast
it's
forward or
thousands
skip
of
it.
names. It's thousands of names.
Thousands
Well,
of
and that's like
names and boilerplate text from some of the software licensing agreements that should have been deleted. But aside from that,
but I mean, and it's
somebody goofed when they proofread the credits.
yeah, it's one of those things where and it's not really that big a surprise. It's Ubisoft. And this is just
hmm
they're and yeah, I don't want to get too into the weeds with that cuz like they're all over the news right now because of well,
Yep, because
just
of
that is a
Tencent
troubled
and
studio.
yeah,
Yeah. They're a troubled studio right now. Or troubled dev publisher.
publisher.
They're
Yeah.
yeah. But moving on, let's moving on to yours. um you have a pretty strong lineup here. And I have to be honest, a couple of these did way better than I thought they would. But you picked up Monster Hunter Wilds, which, to nobody's surprise, I think, really, that did really well. That got you, that was an 89, netting you 19 points. Really, really solid
Hmm.
there. Split Fiction, I think, was a bit of a standout for me. I thought that game was going to be pretty good. Uh, but for it to hit 90, and the where it is, it's like probably 90 point whatever. It doesn't,
It's
it
it's
kind of
it's a
rounds it
it's a
down.
haze light. It's a haze light game. I have never played any of their stuff. I just know that they have a reputation for putting out good games. And
It Takes
I
Two
saw the
is
I saw the
phenomenal.
trailer. Yeah, I saw the trailer for Split Fiction at the Game Awards, and I'm like, okay, It Takes Two, a couple getting a divorce, not really my jam in terms of story. This is something that I could really hang my hat on in terms of stuff I'd want to actually
Yeah.
play. Because
And
that was
it
kind of
from
my theme for this, this whole roster is this
things
is
that
stuff
you
that I
want to
would
play.
probably want to play. And, so Wilds, Xenoblade, Split
Yeah.
Fiction. I think the only one that doesn't really fit the bill there is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which we'll get to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of, Split Fiction, like I said, it was a bit of a standout for me, just because, like, I expected it to do well, but I think it outperformed my expectations even. So
Hmm.
really nice pickup there. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And again, I expected this to do well, but it got you, it got an 89, scoring you like 19 points. And like I said, I
And it was,
expected this
and
to probably do mid eights. But it
mhm.
at one point in time, I do think it was like, on Open Critic, you were probably looking at 90, 91. But as sort of time has sort of progressed, and reviews have trickled
As
in,
more
and
reviews
this
have
was a,
come in, they've kind of pulled the score down just a bit. But
but I
because
mean,
I think a couple of
89
these
is,
were actually 90s, but I'll
yeah.
I'll take an 89 or two.
Yeah, I mean, 89 is nothing to sneeze at. And again, that's like, and it's kind of one of those things where, um, I've hear I hear nothing but good things about this game. I can tell you, just
I genuinely
based on what
feel
I know about it,
I gen
not for me.
yeah, the same. It's very immersive sim to the point where like there is no fast travel. It's that immersive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just, I
And
don't, that's not my jam.
yeah, I
Um,
genuinely feel bad for Micah on that one.
yeah, I don't
He
know
that
what
that
he
was
was
his
thinking there.
that was his counter pick, and I know that it's my game that he counterpicked, and so on the one hand, ha ha, suck it, loser. On the other hand, oh, bro, I am so sorry.
Well, Micah and I always have
Because
this
that might be
discussion after we,
that might
well,
be the worst counter pick of the year. We'll have to see, but
well,
right now that's kind of what's
the jury might be
projected.
out on that one. Yeah, but we always have this. A couple years ago, it's like, he and I, after we draft, we always kind of like, we talk a little bit about just like our stuff, and the counter pick is always like our biggest. We're just like, I don't know. Um,
Hmm.
so, but yeah, moving on here, you've got Rift of the Necrodancer, which has also come out. You're looking at an 81, you know, uh, for that, and 11 points. And that's, uh, Necrodancer was, uh, just like, that's a solid game. And I guess
I
it's not,
actually I actually reviewed the first one for a now defunct online uh, like news and reviews website. This was a while ago. Yeah, when was this? Like probably 10 years ago now, almost.
okay.
But it was one of those things
Yeah,
where it's
it's,
just out of left field. But they were like, "Hey, do you want to review this?" I'm like, "Sure." So I basically got a free copy,
yeah.
and and it turns out that I really like rhythm roguelikes.
Yeah, it's like Necrodancer is kind of like, it's on. it's on my backlog, it's on my list, and at some point in time I'll get around to it because I do have a bit of a soft spot for rhythm games. I also have to be in the right place. But
Hmm.
so yeah, that was I think that was nice to see that sort of perform well for you. You have 4 left here that not including your flex pick that haven't scored yet. Mecha Break, Shantae Advance Risky Revolution, Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game, and Shinobi The Art of Vengeance. I don't know anything about Mecha Break, Shantae. Like those games always do well, whether you like them or not. Who's the dev on that?
My one concern about Shantae is that there has not been a set release date yet, and I'm just hoping
Mm,
it doesn't get pushed off to next year. Mecha
yeah.
Break is it's obviously a mech game, but it's got it's like, how do I describe this? It's almost like it's got some elements of, like, your team based shooter aspects to it. So it's got, like, you know payload missions. So it's got a little bit of, like, Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, TF2 DNA in it, but it is also, like, very Japanese coded mecha sort of vibe
Yeah,
to it.
kind of looking at some of the some of the artwork and stuff. Yeah, it looks cool. I like mechs, so I'm that's definitely something for me to maybe keep my eye on. Um, but kind of
I hear
again
that
moving
they're
along.
putting in an extraction mode, so that'll be interesting, sort of a
Yeah.
PvPvE thing.
Well, if it's like an extraction shooter type thing, I didn't really care for
Well,
the
that's
Dark
that's
Zone.
just yeah, that's just one mode out of several, though. So
Yeah, it's definitely something to maybe sort of like look at it and check out. The one though that I've got to just be honest is like the one that I'm like a little looking at, and this is just me. Um, but Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game, it looks like a cozy game, but I don't
hmm
I don't know. I don't think it's going to be bad. I just like I'm looking at it, and I don't see this as being maybe as strong a performer as some of the others. Like and again, I don't know enough about Mecha Break
yeah,
to weigh in on that. Shantae, like I said, I think if that comes out, those are always solid games. I think you're going to do just fine there. That Shinobi, that game just looks sick.
that's the
Um,
yeah, that's the Shinobi. That's oh shoot, who's developing that? I think
Hello,
that's this. I think it was the same publisher that's doing a lot of the
Dotemu
old school. Yeah, so they're the
or
ones who published.
Dadimu or Dotemu, yeah.
Yeah, they're the ones that published the Shredder's Revenge. Uh, they're doing. I think they're the ones publishing that
The
Marvel beat 'em
the
up that's coming out at the end of the year.
there's a they're doing a Ninja Gaiden. Um, uh, okay, we're just gonna. But yeah, I'm going to such good
Um,
radio. Uh, they are. Uh, so they did Shredder's Revenge. The Cosmic Invasion. I did not know that they were doing Cosmic Invasion. Okay, that changes
mhm.
my opinion of that. They are doing Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. They did Streets of Rage 4.
Right, that's the one.
They did
Did they? Okay,
Metal Slug Tactics. Um,
I haven't played that one. I got to be in the right mood for a tactics game.
they've got a pile. Karateka. Okay, no, that's Hmm. So now I'm gonna look here. The Shinobi. Uh, who is art of? This is like this. Let's see, Shinobi art. Oh no, that's just Sega. That's straight up just Sega. Um,
Oh yeah, it would be Sega. Derp.
they're publishing that, but who's the? I'm trying to see. No, it is.
It's the
Dotemu
same studio,
is
but
Sega is
it's like a
publishing.
partnership. Yeah.
Sega is publishing, but it is the same team that did Streets of Rage 4. Um, so yeah,
Okay, I thought
okay,
so.
yeah, that's
That was why I picked it up.
yeah. I mean that one like that's a I think that's a one. I just think it looks gorgeous. If it plays well, that's going to be an easy points for you.
Wow,
Your
that is
flex,
wild that they're develop. It's wild that they're developing a Shinobi game and a Ninja Gaiden game at the same time.
yeah, yeah, two different takes
That is really interesting.
on ninja side scrolling. Um, yeah, that
Yeah.
Ragebound looks so sick. Um, like because it's more of that like this is kind of like got that like Sumie like kind of flash art kind of thing going on. But
Hmm.
Ragebound has like that really gorgeous pixel art. Your flex pick was Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. Dude, that
Right
did
here.
way better than I
Way
thought.
better than I thought it would. Yeah.
I I thought that was going to be a pretty easy like 78 to 82, like in that like high sevens, low eights kind of ballpark. And dude, 87 for 17 points. Like that might be
You know what
our
I?
our best flex pick. Like now and again, there's still a lot of stuff out there, but like
Mhm.
that might be our best flex pick of the year. Just
I
kind of
think what contributed to that was Xenoblade 3. By all accounts, everything I've heard about is that 3 was fantastic. And this is essentially just a remaster.
yeah.
So they've had a chance to go in and not only make things pretty, but also, uh, you know, dial in some of the stuff that was kind of like, nobody wants to do this side quest. Let's see what we can do to fix that sort of stuff.
Some quality of life. Yeah, maybe.
Quality of life
We
plus extra story stuff like they've done with, like they did with Xenoblade 1 when they did the
yeah.
definitive edition of that one. And so,
So now the only sort of gig that you've got right now is that you did counterpick Lonely Mountains, Snow Riders, and to be fair, um,
I'd never heard of it
I
before the
might have
draft.
done the same thing because I never really heard of this before, and but you counterpicked it, and it scored an 81, so you got knocked for 11 points. But right now you're
Yeah,
standing at
that's gonna be a pattern that we'll come back to when we get to the roster of whoever picked that.
yeah. But yeah, so like right now, and again, you are I'm pretty sure you're currently I want to see just actual
Currently in actual
you
first place, projected second place.
yeah, yeah. So you're sitting pretty good. So moving on here,
Yeah, it's just I just picked a bunch of early games, so I imagine Porcho was probably in the lead for quite a bit last year before everybody caught up to him.
yeah, it's and it sort of especially as that second half of the year sort of drops, we're gonna like things might get a little exciting here, but sort of moving along here, and we'll just kind of rip through this because he's only got two games that are out. Trails in but Spike Tyson's Punch Out Games, our buddy Spike, who is thinking about joining us tonight but couldn't because he has dad and husband duties to attend to.
Hmm.
So he got Trails in the Sky first chapter, Pony Island 2, Panda Circus. Neither one of those has scored. He did pick up Dynasty Warriors Origins, and that got him 11 points with an 81. And I've got to be honest, that scored way better than I thought it would. Um, but yeah, it's
Oh yeah, that was your counter pick, wasn't it?
that was my counter pick. Because I thought like at
Yeah.
best this thing would be like high sevens, at best,
I mean,
and
Dynasty Warriors is a very,
well,
I don't want to
traditionally
say
it's
inconsistent because that makes it sound bad, but I mean, you have some Warriors games that are like the peak of that genre, and then you have some that are like, why did they bother publishing this?
yeah, and what I've been hearing is like that it kind of reinvents the series. It's a bit of a reboot, and it really adds a lot of like Koei Tecmo took a lot of like the combat design that they because they were part of Neo and um a lot
Hmm.
of some of those more intense action games, and they've upped the combat, so the combat's a lot more interesting. But you still have that Musou where it's like killing thousands of dude thing, uh, you know,
Hmm.
going on, and so I mean, 81, like I said, it performed way above like my expectations. I'm not mad about it. Like a good game is a good game. I'm just mad that I counterpicked it. Um, he also picked up Wanderstop, which I'm trying to. I know. I'm trying to think who. I know. I was just listening to something about that game, but like that was kind of like one of those ones where Nate's Spike, he's the other Nate, the false Nate or the counterfeit Nate, the alternate. um he has like a lot of sort of like indie um tendencies kind of deal, but he managed to pick that one up, and it did pretty well for him. Again, like 10 points with an 80. Um, he doesn't have anything else really. Again, he's got Professor Layton in the New World of Steam, Ninja Gaiden 4, and Skate Story lined up. He's also, for his flex pick, he's got Dragon Quest 1 and 2, the HD 2D remake. And he counterpicked Fable, which isn't coming out. And so, he did sort of, so far he's done the best on his counterpick because he hasn't gotten any points, but he hasn't lost anything either. Um,
Hmm.
So here's somebody who has sort of been nipping at your heels a good bit of the year so far. Um,
Oh yeah, we've been dogfighting like it was a action scene in Top Gun for a good month and a half or so.
yeah, and we got a pretty full roster with 4 games released so far, and all of them have done pretty well. But it's Nintendo. Please don't sue me from our buddy the amazing Josh. So right off the crack, his first pick was Sid Meier's Civilization 6 or 7. Sorry about that. That got him an 80, netted him 10 points. He also picked up Pokemon Legends Z Alpha or ZA. Um, Za.
ZA.
Sometimes I've heard called it. Um, he also picked up that hasn't released yet. No score. Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector, 86 for 16 points. Little Nightmares 3, 2 Point Museum got him 15 points with an 85. He snagged Slay the Spire. He's got Tales of Iron 2, Whiskers of Winter that actually scored uh, 10 points with an 80. He's got The King is Watching and Dune Awakening and Dave the Diver as his flex pick. And then he counterpicked me. How dare you, Joshua? How dare you? But yeah, he's got a no empty slots. He's kind of used up. Now he does have drops still. Um, but and this is like definitely there's some like 2 Point Museum. That's a little bit off the beaten path, but that has done really well for him. That was one that I was kind of thinking about doing. Um,
Yeah,
but he's
that whole
definitely
series is a really solid, competent sort of management sim kind of
yeah.
thing.
And
Like like sim theme park and stuff like that.
he got 2 Point Museum, and he managed, and just like I've kind of I had been eyeballing that, and when he picked that up I was like, oh, daggone it. And 15 points, that's a pretty nice hit. um so he's got no misses right now. He's only 4 games released, but the Citizen Sleeper 2 really, that's his best game, at an 86 and with 16 points. But yeah, so he's sitting at a total of 50 right now, and he is currently, I believe, in second place. Yes. Um, so he's currently in second place, and like I said, in the projected stuff, YouTube sort of been dogfighting, um, but both of you kind of got knocked down a little bit here, and we'll get to that when we get to that, though. So next up is Sojourner with what publisher? What publisher are we? Some sort of Suicide Squad? Um, he only has 2 games that released, like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii and the first Berserker Kazan. He has a full roster with Fatal Fury, City of Wolves, The Altars, Killing Floor 3, Crimson. Oh, no, I didn't get Crimson Desert. That was in my other league. Never mind. So he counterpicked Joshua. You counterpicked Isaac. Okay, you're safe. Um, he did get Crimson Desert. He got Dying Light the Beast, Blades of Fire, and Far Cry 7. And his flex pick was Blades of P Overture, and he counterpicked Borderlands 4. Like a Dragon
Yeah,
and the first Berserker.
Spike was the one who counterpicked you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
What did you? Oh,
it was
how? Oh,
Fable.
yeah, that's right. How dare you, Spike? You jerk. Um, just the worst.
Misdirected ire, for shame, sir.
Counterfeit Nate trying to go toe to toe with real Nate. Um, um, but not too much to say here. Like a Dragon and performed right around in the range that I thought it would. First Berserker, I was pleasantly surprised to see that scoring so well. That was kind of an unknown. Looked really interesting. Looks really cool. I think it has a really great style, really great presentation. But I didn't know much about the game, and I'm glad to see it doing well. Trashiest taste here now, and this is like, if I'm being honest, I think this is the roster that we should all be kind of afraid of so far.
Hmm.
Um, the only
I think the projections on these are low.
yeah, he's got GTA. The first game he managed to pick up, and it kind of surprised me that it went this low, but GTA 6. And then on the way back through, he managed to pick up Death Stranding 2. He got Hollow Knight Silk Song, The Outer Worlds 2, Borderlands 4, Marvel Cosmic Invasion, Digimon Storytime Stranger, Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma. Um, his draft was just, in my opinion, probably the best draft. And again, he doesn't have scores on any of that, but he managed to snag, I'd say, his first three are all like, they're all games that I wanted in my own list. Um, I just didn't want them
And to the
as
best of
much
my
as he did,
knowledge,
apparently.
I don't. Yeah, I think every single one of these has been confirmed for a release this year, to as far
Yeah,
as I'm aware. I don't
yeah.
think he's left anything to chance in terms of will it
Well,
launch in 2025 or not.
there were questions about
I
the
mean, there's
Outer
a
Worlds
couple.
too, and we just got confirmation that there's going to be a direct, or whatever Xbox calls those, um, on that
I
here in
think they call
the
them
near
directs
future.
too, actually.
But then Hollow Knight Silksong was confirmed to be on the Switch, um, to be a launch title, or
Switch 2.
to be, yes,
Not a launch title,
on
but this year.
on the yeah, I was like, launch window game for
Yeah.
the Switch 2.
Well,
Everything else that
was
we
it
just
launch
found out,
window?
launch window usually is like the first 6 months to a year. So
Okay. Okay. I've always been
uh
fuzzy on what they meant by launch window. I always thought it was like 3 to 4 months, but
yeah, like anything within that, like,
if
first,
it's 6 or 8, then yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, it kind of, but he doesn't
Yeah,
have anything out, but I think when his games start showing up, we're all like, Grand Theft Auto, I think, is
we're
going to be
cooked.
probably game of the year. Death Stranding 2, now that tends to be a little bit more of a cult hit, cult classic kind of thing, but I think it's going to do really well. Hollow Knight Silksong, yeah, that's just like, that's kind of an indie darling that everybody's kind of been chomping on the bit or frothing at the mouth for. Every time there's a
Hmm.
direct or whatever, we're like, is this Silk Song? Silk Song? you know, um,
There's a
and
reason.
it's,
There's a reason I hide the chat on those.
yeah. Um, so
Where's
he's just
Silk
got,
Song? Fine, here. Nintendo's like, just take it. Well, you'll
yeah.
get it. Just be patient.
Well, and it's not really that big a surprise, because that, and actually Hades 2 both being on the Switch, sort of confirmed for
Hmm.
releasing on the Switch. Um, it's not that big a surprise, because that's actually where both of those, like, Hollow Knight and original Hades, launched on the Switch first and then came to the other consoles. So I think they're just kind of like
Uh,
both.
mm, are we talking about just the consoles?
Well, okay, so they were
Because
both
Hades
PC.
was on. Yeah.
But when it went
They were
1.0,
PC before they hit consoles.
yes,
Yeah.
they were both PC games before they hit consoles. And then when Hades went 1.0, it released the first console it released onto was the Switch. Um, and
Okay.
Hades 2 is going to be on the Switch first and come to the other consoles later. Um, so uh, but yeah, the only sort of like whiff on Wes's, and his developer's trashiest taste because he's garbage, and I love him, but like, oh boy, am I so mad! I'm so mad about that roster. I want that roster. Um, if a less scrupulous commissioner would just dump those games and take them for himself, Wesley, I'm just saying. But the only whiff
I
that
mean,
he actually, go ahead.
yeah, you say you're surprised that GTA 6 went that long. I'm like, I mean, if I actually wanted to play it, I probably would have picked it up because I knew being in second, and I knew with Porcho having already stated his intent for what he was going to draft, I could have grabbed that, but I did
Yeah,
not want Monster Hunter Wilds to get away from me. So
yeah. Well, and
by the
it's
time my
just like,
second pick came around, there it just wasn't going to happen.
oh, dude, it was a given that, like, I'm just surprised it fell that far. Like, I was really surprised that Isaac
Hmm.
or you know Spike or Amazing Josh hadn't like snapped it up. But sort of rounding out here, the only whiff with Wes's roster is Assassin's Creed Shadow. He counterpicked it, and I mean, to be fair, it's not a terrible counter pick, but it's not great. So he's currently sitting at a -11. But when his games start coming in, I think we're all in trouble. Um, so
Yep.
looking at the next, and this is, I think Micah's, looking at Micah here with Doug's Vest Digital, he's got like, it's pretty empty. Um, but his first three
I
are
don't think
all
he's
really.
added anything since. Yeah, he hasn't added anything since the initial draft. I don't think.
No, I'll have to bug him and just tell him that he needs to start filling up his roster. And if he's not going to, then he can give me
I think the
Judas.
I think the counter pick. I think the counter pick kind of killed
Took the
his
wind out of his
desire
sails.
to keep going.
So
Yeah, just a
maybe,
little.
maybe. But let's just talk
I
about what
mean,
he's got
Doom
drafted here
looks
real quick.
good though.
Doom looks really
Yeah.
good. I think Judas, if it comes out this year, is going to do really well for him. And Ninja Gaiden, Ragebound, I think all three of those are guaranteed like mid to high 80s, possibly verging into the 90s for each one of them.
Hmm.
Mina the Hollower, I think the biggest question is if it comes out. That's from Yacht Club. If the
That
biggest
that's
question
the one
is
I'm mad
if
at
it
him
comes out.
about. I'm
And
so mad he grabbed that. That was on my list to get.
well, I think that the biggest question though is like, it's like we don't know anything about the release table on that. Like, they've been pretty silent. We know that it's a thing
They
and that they're
have.
working on it, but they haven't talked about it. He had
Yeah, I
drafted.
backed it. I backed it on Kickstarter, and I get updates, and they still haven't nailed down any sort of window for release yet. They're still very much deep in development on it.
Yeah. He did draft the unannounced 3D Mario platformer, but with the recent Nintendo sort of announcements, there's no sight of that. So
No,
he
no, that
dropped that.
wasn't that.
Oh no, that was
He
in our other league. What did he drop then?
yeah, that
What the
he's got the unannounced Venom game in his
Yeah, he's
list.
got the unannounced Venom game. He's got an empty slot though, so he dropped something. Um anyways, well,
Well, no,
whatever.
his flex pick, right? Because
Well,
we pulled 6 games, and flex pick was one of those, right?
oh, maybe that was it. But he still has like an
Yeah.
empty slot on this for
Well,
me.
because if we drafted 6 games initially, and one of them was his flex pick, then that would explain the 4 slots there, right?
But he's got, like, when I'm looking at this, he's got an empty slot in between Mina and unannounced standalone Venom game. I see the different, like, maybe a
That's
difference.
okay. Yeah, you would see more than I would because I'm only seeing what's
So
there
I
as
think he
opposed
dropped
to
something. I don't know what that was, but his flex pick I think
Okay.
might give now. And here's we were talking about he for his flex pick he did snap up Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. If
Hmm.
that remake is good, that will probably be our highest scoring flex pick. I would
Probably.
imagine. Um, but yeah,
Honestly, I will be surprised if that doesn't beat out Xenoblade.
yeah. That's
If
what
I'm
I'm saying. Like
completely
I
honest.
like 88, 89, possibly verging into the
Hmm.
90s. Um,
Yeah.
the thing though is like he's sort of working from a pretty significant deficit. He did counterpick KCD too.
Yeah.
And so he's starting out
It's like,
his year at
oh,
a negative
buddy,
19. Um,
that's gotta hurt. I would not want that to be me.
does not feel good. Now moving on to the next loser with Broken Future LLC. Oh, that's me. Never mind. Still a loser, but uh, let's see. I picked up Ghost of Yote, Mario Kart World, Claire Obscure Expedition
Ah,
33.
I can't believe that paid off for you.
Uh, uh, I had heard pretty reliable rumors on the Twitter sphere, and so I just was, um, yeah, it was a gamble, but I was willing. But I also picked up Fable. Fable has been confirmed that it is not coming out this year, so that's DOA. That's a big fat goose egg. I'm going to try to drop it. I actually put in a request to drop it, but it was counterpicked, so I don't know how that's going to work for me. I also picked up Hyperlight Breaker. I did. I went crazy hard, and I picked up Donkey Kong Bonanza. I bid
Irking
very
at
high.
least two of us.
I
You
bid
outbid at least
very
two of
high.
us.
I I was like, I don't because I had picked up a bunch of like I picked up Baby Steps, Hell is Us, and Moonlighter 2 for like five virtual bucks a pop. And I was like,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
and my flex pick was Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist, which got me an 85 for 15 points. I did counter pick Dynasty Warriors for Origins for a negative 11. So I'm sitting at 4. I think I'm really kind of curious to see what happens here in the coming months with Mario Kart World. Claire Obscure, we're going to have a score for that here in the next few weeks. So maybe I'm going to start putting things on the board. We'll see.
Yeah. Because we're looking at Claire Obscure and Fatal Fury both on the 24th of this month. And then um, like Shantae is estimated for April, but again, no actual announcement as far as that goes yet. So the
Yeah.
next thing we're guaranteed to see is going to be Doom in the middle of next month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But moving around, and this young man has been moving and shaking, and he was the last in our order. But he did pick up the unannounced mainline 3D Mario platformer. He has not dropped it yet. He's still kind of holding on to that because, and the
hmm.
thing is, like, frankly, it might be kind of wise to do so just because there is a lot of year left, and maybe Nintendo wants to save like a bit of a holiday pop. Um, so I think we would have heard about it if my
I
personal
think
opinion
so
is we
too.
would have heard about it if they were going to do anything with it, but it doesn't. Nintendo does what Nintendo wants to do, so there is that.
Yep.
Now this is the one that you counterpicked it, Lonely Mountain Snow Riders. Again, that scored an 81, getting him 11 points. He also managed to pick up in the draft order Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. So that was confirmed for this year. So that's going to get him something. South of Midnight got a 78 for 8 points. And that's not bad. It's not good. It's not like, the thing is like, we kind of famously joke about it in the Dear Critics League, but Alex Castellanos said, I just try to draft games. I try to pick games that are going to get me 80. And so we just pick eights, just be like Alex and pick eights, and so we just kind of like, um,
Yeah, let's
but
just say it's a good thing that we're going off of like Open Critic and not Steam user numbers for a lot of
yeah.
these. Have you
Well,
seen the Steam user numbers for
yeah,
South of Midnight?
it's not doing it's not like
They're
less than 1,000 concurrents kind of stuff, or less than 1,000
yeah,
total users.
I think yeah, I think their all time peak was under 1,200. I think
Yeah.
I can, let me double check. I don't want to lie
Well,
about
and
it,
the
but
thing is, what I've been hearing about that game is that it's really pretty. It's got really great sound design, but the gameplay is really pretty aggressively middling. It's like it's
hmm
fine, it's competent, but it's not great. So it's like, and it's
okay,
like does that weird like
my
art house frame thing. Go ahead.
yeah, the stop motion stuff. The all time peak was 1,411
Yeah.
2 days ago.
So
It
it's
released
not.
2 days ago.
And I to me it never looked at something that was going to be like like it might have had room to be like kind of a viral indie darling thing because of the stop
hmm
motion animation framing device stuff, but um
Yeah,
I don't know it, but I mean, hey, it's 8 points, it's not negative.
it's
So
yeah, true.
Sword of the Sea,
And
uh
yeah,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and the Steam numbers don't tell the whole story because it is an Xbox title. So there's another
We don't know what the
there's
user
an
numbers
entire
on
another
Game
group of
Pass.
people playing on console.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't know the numbers
so
from Game Pass, so it might be doing really well over there. It does very I heard somebody say like they're like I hate to say it like this, but it's like it's a perfect Game Pass game. And so um say what you will about that. Um
that's like saying it's the perfect game to rent from Blockbuster, back from the 1990s.
yeah, it's like you rent it, maybe borrow it from a friend, but you don't buy that. It does like I said, I think it
hmm
looks gorgeous. Um it's like one of those things that maybe someday like check it out, but I'm not like right now I'm drowning in backlog piles. So um but Sword of the Sea,
Oh
no
yeah, I
score
mean,
there.
yeah, I haven't even touched this yet because I'm waiting on the rest of this. I'm waiting on to play the rest of the series before I even touch this
Uh
one. So
well, I mean the thing though is like from what I've heard is that X has like does not tie into 1, 2, and 3 really in any meaningful capacity. So
I'm wondering if they're changing that with the extra story content, but I'm just gonna wait and see. I'm not gonna go
yeah,
looking at
hey,
spoilers or anything.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm just like I'm side eyeing X terribly because like I love big robots, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've heard really awesome things about it.
Are,
Even if it takes they're like it
are,
takes like 20, 30 hours to get there, but once you get there, it's super awesome. And I'm like, because I really liked Xenogears, but anyways, this is the one, and this is the one that
are you
kind of
saying
no, go ahead.
you're gonna hate me for interrupting you for this, but are you saying you like big bots and you cannot lie?
Um, yes.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
I no, I will sort of like cop to that. I do like big bots, and I will not lie. Evangelion, Gundam, all of them. The weird robo
I mean,
dimensions.
Martian Successor Nadesco was one of my first series for anime, so
I
uh,
wanted to like
definitely
Robotech.
I'm with you
I
there.
want I like Robotech in theory, and I think like designs for Robotech are really cool, but like actually watch, and I think it's because like Robotech is like actually 6 different series all mashed together. But
Yep, yep.
but getting back to this the business at hand, this is the game that
Sorry.
kind of no, it's fine, man. It's but Blueprints, which just came out
Yeah,
today as of recording, and it's
and I had never heard of it before today.
I hadn't. I think Micah and I were texting back and forth a little bit. Like I think I'd seen it in a Sony State of Play or something at one point in time. It was called something else at one point in time, but yeah, it's kind of came out of nowhere. I think took a lot of people by surprise. It reminds me actually like Blueprints reminds me a lot of like Balatro last year, where it's this game that's sort of like it was on some people's radars, but for the most part, it was just like flying under the radar. Um, and then it just kind of pops up and it's
Hmm.
this massive thing. It's a 90, uh, getting him 20 points, and that has actually put him in contention for. He's projected to take first at the end of the year at this point. He's also
Yep.
got dispatch
And
uh, and two
uh,
open
I
slots.
I'm mad at him for that one. I'm mad at him for dispatch. I really wanted that because
Oh,
I liked what I saw of the trailer
I
because
think I know what
that's the one
Micah
that's
dropped.
the because dispatch is the one that's the former Telltale devs, I think.
Mm,
Yeah, the one about
he
the superhero dispatcher.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I just, but Mark's flex pick was Shovel Knight, Shovel of Hope DX, and he counterpicked the Okami sequel. I think that's what Micah had drafted, and I think he dropped that. Um,
Oh
'Cause
yeah, because I think it was confirmed at some point that that was not going to hit this year.
yeah, yeah. So I'm willing to bet that that's what that
Yeah,
was.
yeah, because nobody's got Okami sequel on their roster right now.
Yeah.
So
So
that's probably what Micah dropped.
okay, okay. I see how it
Mystery
is.
solved.
Mystery solved. So, yeah, I mean, current standings, and we'll just kind of go through this, is you are sitting in first currently. You're projected to end up in second. Amazing Josh is currently standing in second. Their projections have him going into third. Porcho is in third currently, and they have him landing in fourth. Mark, son of Eric, is currently in fourth, and they have him projected to be in first.
By less than a
Sojourner
point.
I yeah, yeah, it's point 0.7 points, point 0.8 points. Um
Yeah,
wow.
the fact that he's got two open slots is what worries me because
Yeah, and he's got 69, virtual bucks to sling around to. Now you have 80 and you still have drops. So you can if there's a, you've got anything um
I mean, I have 80 now.
for now. um but let's see.
This probably isn't going to come out fast enough for anyone to snipe me, but I may have placed a bid this week.
Are you on some Kirby? Um, I will
I
make
mean,
sure that this
you
doesn't
stole
air before.
you stole Donkey Kong from me, and at least one other person that I know of. So
Yeah, you and Mark were not pleased with me. Um,
I mean,
but
to be fair, even during the draft, there were quite a few times where at least one person was going, "Doggone it, I wanted that one."
there was a lot of like I was watching all the games that I wanted to draft go to other people, and I was like, you took Wilds, Wes took like a bunch of stuff, Micah snapped up a bunch of stuff. Um,
Hmm.
but currently, Sojourner is sitting in fifth. But he's projected to to wind up in ninth. Spike is currently sitting in sixth with projected slot of seven. I am currently in seventh, and so like they're saying I might end up in fifth. Uh, and then and this is where like this is why I don't trust the projections because like they have Wes currently in eighth, and they have him landing in sixth, and I'm like, listen, if if those top three games on his roster come out and hit, like that's gonna that's gonna be the a massive shakeup. Um, but
Yeah,
then
that's going to be a bloodbath when
my
when those start ticking off.
Yeah, and if Micah's stuff does come out, like I think he could get out of the bottom by more than a significant margin. He is currently in last place. They have him slotted for eighth, but I think that's the other thing. There's a lot of year. This is just a Q1
Hmm.
review, and we do have some stuff that's primed to sort of drop here imminently. Um, like
Yeah,
blueprints
I think
drop.
Doom alone has the potential to pull Micah out of the negatives. So,
Oh, yeah, like Doom could very easily hit like a 19 or a 20. Just
mhm.
I would not be terribly surprised to see that hit into the low 90s. Um, so uh, but blueprints drop today. Claire Obscure drops on the 24th. Fatal Fury drops on the 24th. Shantae Advance, that's slotted for sometime this month.
Iffy,
Yeah, it's like
iffy.
we haven't heard anything about it, but it is
Yeah,
estimated.
honestly, I think the system's just pushing it every month that it doesn't come out until they actually get a real date.
Mm,
So,
so, but then
because that was originally slated for like February. So,
yeah,
they're just
uh,
pushing the estimated release back each month until they get a solid date for it.
but you've got Doom: The Dark Ages in the 15th, Dune Awakening on the 20th of May, Blades of Fire on the 22nd, Elden Ring Night Rain releases on the 30th of May, Room Factory Guardians of Azuma May 30th, and then in June, Mario Kart World will
Or
with
as I
the
like to call it, Mario Kart Forza Horizon.
yeah. So there's
Oh
I
man,
mean the
I'm so
next
looking forward to that.
yeah, I think it's going to be really great. But I'm telling you, the next few months is going to be pretty wild because we're going to see some of this
Hmm.
stuff start to drop. Death Stranding's coming out in
In
June.
June,
Um, Deltarune,
DK in
actually
July,
DK Deltarune in June, DK in July, Metal Gear in August. Uh, so yeah,
a
we're gonna
day before Shinobi.
yeah. There's going to be it's going to get kind of wild here, and it's as things kind of I think the big one and again it's like it's kind of like looming over the head is like the nuke that is Grand Theft Auto 6 and
Oh yeah,
towards the third quarter of the year. But
I mean GTA 4 and 5 got perfect tens from so many outlets, and I'm just kind of like, okay, so you say in your review that there was this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, but you still gave it a perfect 10.
uh,
Hmm.
it's well, and we'll pull up real quick here Open Critic and just kind of look at the Open Critic uh just to sort of get an idea here. Like, and again, it's not perfect, but like Grand Theft Auto, I just kind of, and we'll look at Red Dead 2. So five had a 92, and
Mm.
then Red Dead Redemption 2, and then Red Dead Redemption 2 had a 95. So, I mean, this I could very easily see GTA scoring a 95, 96. I think there's questions because some of the writing staff, I want to say Hauser, I think one of the Hauser brothers, they were like the founding two of the founders. One of them ended up
Hmm.
leaving, and I want to say Dan Hauser,
That's the
but
one. Yeah.
he ended up leaving, and he was really did a lot of like the lifting as far as like scenario writing and things like that. So, but yeah, I
Not to
think GTA.
mention, I GTA 6 is going to be trying to navigate a very different social environment than GTA 3, 4, 5, just because of a lot of like political and political adjacent stuff that's gone on in the past decade since GTA 5 came out.
Yeah, but I think the thing with GTA though is that it always tends to be a little bit of satire and kind of like, for like, taking the wind out of, you know taking the wind out of like sort of pop culture sales, like, so it's very kind of like South Park esque in a lot of ways. Like they just kind of like take shots, and so we'll see. And they kind of thrive in spite of that. Um, so we will see. Yeah, they are releasing into a very different sort of like socio political climb,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I don't know that that's really going to make a difference for them. Um, we'll see. I think it's just going to be like the quality of writing, and if it's good, it's good. Like, and
That that's really what it comes down to in the modern uh, development sort of space right now. Is, you know, are your writers actually good at the craft, or, you know,
are you jamming in a bunch
were
of stuff that you don't need?
were your writers hired because of how they looked as opposed to how well they could do the job?
Maybe,
That's
yeah,
that's as much as it's like the best way I can put it without getting exceedingly like political about the whole thing.
yeah, yeah.
So,
But I think just kind of um, wanted to maybe take a second here, just kind of looking at this and kind of taking a 10,000 point view. Like I said, it's kind of interesting to see. Like, I'm withholding judgment because I think
hmm.
right now we've even within the last couple of days we've even had a couple of like fairly substantial shakeups, and I think once these games start hitting, um, but it's gonna be like that's when it's gonna be really interesting. But all that being said, first quarter down. Any sort of high level thoughts here, Arc? To sort of like close out the night, or anything that you really
um
wanted to say before we land this plane?
really, I'm just looking forward to seeing how things pan out. I mean, I know that, I've got a relatively commanding lead right now, but it's not going to be very surprising to see that shrink over time, because my next actual like release date on the schedule isn't until the end of July at this point. So, at this, I'm to the point now where it's probably best for my mental health if I just kick back and just let things happen for a few months and not obsessively check this page every day.
Probably.
Because
Yeah.
then it's going to be like, doggone it, why are these people keep downvoting my games? Stop some. It's like, we're good. We don't need any more reviews for these games. Their scores are fine. Stop giving them sevens. You're ruining my averages. I don't need to be doing that every day.
That's probably not good for you. I think that the one thing I would just like for you, I would just say like, hey, like if you've got stuff that isn't scoring, and like we talked about Shantae, it kind of keeps getting pushed back. Like
Hmm.
if you got stuff that like, always be willing to reevaluate your roster. You have drops,
Yeah.
you have a little bit of funding there, and it's sort of by
Well,
the time this goes live and
let
everything else, you'll probably have secured it, but like you'll probably have
I bid
managed.
everything I had on Kirby. I'm not going to be able to drop anything.
Well, you can change your bid. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, like I can't. Well, I can't
Wait, I can't.
match the bid anyways. I'm pretty sure you can adjust your bid.
Let's see. Edit. Okay.
So maybe keep a little
Whew.
bit
Okay.
in the pocket there.
Yeah. I'm gonna risk getting outbid just in case somebody else tries to grab it, just so I have a little bit. You know what? Not that much. There we go.
So,
Okay.
and I will make sure that I will tell Josh not to release this prior to uh
Yeah,
Saturday.
we got just under 2 days until the bids process. So
So, but
no,
yeah,
no
I
insider
think
information for you.
yeah, it's like by the time anybody listens to this, it'll be too late, even for the brochachos. So yeah, it's I think it's always fun. It's always fun to kind of like do this and sort of look at the ups and downs. It's a little quiet. I just sort of like a kind of a 1,000 foot view is like it's. I think this year more than some other years is going to be a little tougher with the counter picks. I think
Yeah,
a
too many
lot
good
of
games.
yeah, it's like you don't have like a couple years ago when it was Lord of Ring Golem was on the thing. It was like that was an easy counter pick. Um, a couple years like last year, I think in one of my leagues, or maybe in both of them, I drafted Foam Stars. That was an easy counter pick. Um, so yeah, I don't think we have anything like that. Sort of looking at us right now, it's like the best. I think the best that we can hope for this year, as far as counter picks go, is just like that whatever you counter pick doesn't release. Um, so, but that being said, that's like it. I think it's going to be an interesting year. I think there's some killer games coming down the pipe. Um, I'm excited. So, but
Yep.
yeah. Well, I wanted to thank you for your time here, Ark, and listeners, thank you for your time. You know, if you hung in there and you kind of want to check this out, you can head on over. I will talk to Josh about putting a link to checking out the League of Mediocre Brotato Chaps, and you can sort of you can follow along if you are even slightly interested in any of this. And if you aren't, well, sorry. But until next time, guys. Well, Ark, thank you. Um, and until next time, guys, you do the things, and we'll catch you later. Right. Good night, guys.
See ya.